This is M-Wire, Movie Week in Review. M-Wire is brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up today to get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/geekcastradio. Start today with a free 30-day trial with over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter at audible_com. And now the latest and greatest in movies with M-Wire.
Let me tell you what styling is. The perfect session. A-frame wave, ground swell, spitting out salt water in your face, doing a 360 without a bounce. I call it the consciousness razor.
Mitchell's life was a California dream. Until he woke up in Cincinnati.
What do you think? It's wild, right?
We're just so excited about having you here. Slow down a little bit, Wiley. Hands on 10 and 2.
His cousin wants him to meet his friends.
You. Where do I know you from?
You used to flush my head in the urinals.
They're an interesting bunch.
I could be Elvis. It's possible.
I really like to sleep, and I like Nintendo.
They all want Mitchell to feel right at home. And if it wasn't for Nikki...
How are you?
You must be getting pretty homesick, huh?
Not right now.
He'd have no reason to stay.
Man, I'm gonna throw up.
For the next 6 months, his days of sun, sand, and surf have been put on ice.
See you in school.
In a city where no one understands him.
I need traffic, smog, heat waves.
Who would have thought he'd become a hero by doing what he does best?
Been challenged by the preps to a little skating race. We thought maybe you'd, want to skate on our team.
No. He has one chance to prove himself. One final race to win. And he's the one who has what it takes to put them over the top. Airborne.
I think I'm starting to like Cincinnati.
Hello and welcome to Movie Week in Review. This is M-Wire, brought to you by the Geekcaster Radio Network and Audible.com. I am one of your hosts, TFG1Mike. Joining me is MovieRevolt Dan. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know that's stating, it's a bold statement, but I really, really enjoy this film. 1993's Airborne. This is the skate surfer film that came out in 93. There's another film called Airborne that's some other kind of, I don't know what the hell it is, but this is the one with Shane McDermott, Brittany Powell, Jack Black, Chris Conrad, Seth Green, Patrick O'Brien, Edie McClurg, all those people. Did you ever see this movie? Because I know the reason why I ask, and I remember you told me that you had, because originally I was just going to do this film by myself. I was going to do it as a commentary as I watched it, because not a lot of people I know have seen this film.
Yeah, I did actually. I kind of remember watching this. It was one of those like Saturday afternoon TVs that came on. I saw it on television. I think when I was a kid. I remember watching. It was like back when X-Men came on at around 11 a.m. And then after that ended, I tended to, after watching X-Men, being a little kid, I would then play with my X-Men toys, and the TV would be on. And then I think this eventually came on. And at the time, this came out around the time like Mighty Ducks is really big, and I was really into hockey as growing up as a kid, and really into rollerblading. So this really caught my interest. Like I went from kind of passively watching it to being really engaged by it. So I watched it, and it ended up coming on TV a lot around those few years. And then I honestly forgot all about this movie. And then I think a few years ago, I think you did a review on Twig, and it kind of brought all those memories back regarding Airborne. But it was one of those films I remember watching and then just forgetting about, and just thinking it was something I created in my own head. And then as we went back and rewatched it, it was like pretty much everything. I remembered almost everything from the movie. I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah, I did watch it as a kid. I never saw it in theaters. It was on TV, but was one of those
Yeah,
things.
I never saw it in theaters either. I saw it on TV as well. It was on Netflix for a while. It's not anymore. Like as soon as I joined Netflix a number of years ago, that was one of the first things I looked up. And sadly, it's not on there anymore. I guess obviously Netflix must have lost the rights to be able to stream it or whatever else. But miraculously, I'm trying to see here, when was this? It was the Warner Archive people had released it on DVD finally after God knows how long. And I got it on Amazon. And sure, it's just it's the Warner Archive movie collection thing. And it's one of those things where it's just a bare bones DVD. It's got the film and it's got the film's trailer. That's all it has on it. But that's all it really needs, because the film speaks for itself and it's so amazing. So let's have JT from Saskatoon tell you all about it with the plot in his Just the Facts. We'll be back after that.
Airborne is a story of Mitchell Goosen, a stereotypical Californian teenager. He's laid back, he loves to surf, and his parents are world-traveling zoologists. You know, that old chestnut. One day, his parents tell him that they've been awarded a grant that will enable them to study wildlife in Australia for 6 months. Mitchell is ecstatic at the thought of surfing the waves of the southern Pacific Ocean, but unfortunately his parents don't want him to skip the last semester of the school year, so they ship him off to his aunt and uncle's home in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Baby, if you've ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP.
The sullen Mitchell lands in the middle of a snowstorm and is greeted by his Aunt Irene, Uncle Louie, and Cousin Wiley. Mitchell is at first a little put off by their old-fashioned manner, but soon warms to his aunt and uncle. Wiley takes a little while longer to get used to with his constant fashion changes and eagerness to fit in at school, which proves to be another challenge for Mitchell, as the culture shock is only exemplified when he starts at his new school. He also immediately gains the dislike of Jack, the captain of the school's hockey team, and Augie, the goaltender, who make fun of Mitchell's easygoing attitude. It's not all bad, though, because Mitchell catches the attention of several of the girls in his English class. Of course, when he flirts with some of the girls in the class, it turns out one of them is Jack's girlfriend, and just as Jack is about to throw Mitchell a whooping, they are interrupted by the Banducci twins, Mark and Tony. They inform their captain that 2 other players have been benched after trying to dose a teacher's coffee with laxatives, and they're 2 men short for a game that afternoon against their rivals from Central High. Snake, one of the school tough guys, volunteers to play, and Jack then conscripts Wiley to fill the final spot. During the game, Mitchell is hard-pressed to understand the game due to his philosophy of nonviolence, and strikes up a conversation with a girl named Nikki, who quickly takes a shine to Mitchell. Their talk about how some things are worth fighting for comes to an end when Wiley is knocked out during play and Mitchell says he's filled the spot. Unfortunately, Mitchell has absolutely no idea how to play hockey and scores on his own goal, winning the game for the preppy snobs from Central. Jack by this point has had enough and tackles Mitchell in anger, knocking him out cold. When he awakes, Wiley helps him home and warns him of the team's retribution. What follows is your typical teen movie revenge shenanigans, which include stealing Mitchell's clothes while he's in the shower and gluing Wiley to his locker. This continues well into spring when Mitchell's parents send him a care package containing rollerblades, pads, and a helmet. While out cruising around town, Mitchell comes across Nikki, who takes him to a local greenhouse to show him some flowers. The 2 smitten teens start to flirt with each other in their own way, and Nikki later asks Mitchell if he wants to hang out on a Friday night. But Mitchell says he's already got plans with Wiley, and Nikki says they can double date and she'll bring her friend Gloria. Mitchell tells Wiley about the double date, and his cousin begins a hilarious procession of fashion changes due to his anxiety about the date. Mitchell calms Wiley down by telling him to be himself through use of Popeye's philosophy of I am what I am. Suitably dressed, the guys pick up Nikki and Gloria and head to a local pier to hang out before dinner. Mitchell and Nikki even share a passionate kiss, and to his credit, Wiley does make an effort with Gloria, but fails pretty hilariously. The 4 go to dinner at a local diner where they are interrupted by Blaine, one of the snobs from Central High. After Wiley stands up to him, he shoves him out of the way and paws at Nikki when Jack arrives with the rest of the hockey team and warns Blaine off Nikki, who's revealed to be his sister. After Blaine leaves, Jack says he'll take Nikki home, but reveals she's there with Mitchell. When Jack threatens to beat up Mitchell, his calm facade finally breaks as he lets out all his frustrations, telling off Jack, Nicky, the team, and even Wiley. Wiley says he's disappointed in his cousin, and Nicky won't even speak to him anymore, leaving Mitchell sad and depressed. The answer to Mitchell's problems come to him in a surfing dream, which inspires him to make the best of the situation in Cincinnati. He goes to a local pickup hockey game the next day where he finds Nicky and the rest of the team. He attempts to make peace, but no one's listening until Jack puts him in the game, if only to see him get hurt. However, Mitchell's rollerblading skills serve him well, and he scores for his team, earning some respect from the players. He even wins Nicky's heart back after pantsing Blaine and admitting that he was wrong and there are things worth fighting for in life. After he and Wiley escape, Augie and the rest of the team, minus Jack, apologize to Mitchell for the way they have treated him and ask him to join them in a downhill rollerblade race to settle their rivalry with Blaine and the Central High Snobs. Mitchell accepts the invite, and the next day everyone meets at the top of the Devil's Backbone, a series of steep, treacherous hills in the heart of the city. First team with 3 racers across the line wins glory and adulation for their school. The race begins and both teams begin to race down the twisted path. Snake and 2 preps take the early lead, followed by Jack and Blaine, Mitchell, and the rest. Mitchell is nearly taken out by one of the preps, but is saved by Augie, while Snake and Jack rocket ahead. After zigging and zagging through traffic and with some help from the Banducci's, Mitchell catches up with the rest of them as they enter the home stretch of the race. Snake crosses the line first, but is soon followed by the 2 preps trailing him. Mitchell loses sight of the other racers after they enter a parking garage, but soon sees Blaine and Jack battling for position as they race. Mitchell closes the gap by sailing over the edge of the parking garage wall and down onto a flat-deck truck and races to catch up. Blaine causes Jack to take a nasty spill and tries to body-check Mitchell, but misses and falls into the waters of the Ohio River below. Mitchell continues racing for the goal, but stops and goes back to help Jack, ending their rivalry. Together they cross the finish line and win the race to the cheers of their schoolmates. Mitchell finally wins the respect of Jack as well as the love of Nicky as they share a kiss, ending the film. A product of the extreme sports phenomenon of the 1990s, Airborne was released in theaters on September 17, 1993. The film was directed by Robert Bowman, a seasoned television director who has worked on series such as Parker Lewis Can't Lose, The X-Files, and Mantis. The cast featured Shane McDermott as Mitchell, Brittany Powell as Nicky, Seth Green as Wiley, Chris Conrad as Jack, Owen Stadel as Blaine, Jack Black in an early film role as Augie, and Ferris Bueller's Edie McClurg as Aunt Irene. Reviews for the film are not kind, what little I could find. Based on the reviews I did find on Rotten Tomatoes, where the film has a 17% rotten rating, critics hated the plot, the acting, the direction, and pretty much the whole film. In fact, there was only one positive review. Said review came from movie hole critic Clint Morris, who said the film was a lot of fun, filled with babes, beats, and badass skate stunts. Which is true, though badass skate stunts does not a movie make. I love this movie. I really do. It's the kind of enjoyable bad movie that you gotta watch with a few friends, if only so you can rip on it MST3K style. The film was cliched from start to finish, but I love it, if only for the magic that is Seth Green and the 90s hip-hop R&B soundtrack. Just saying. This has been Just the Facts for Airborne. I'm JT from Saskatoon. I'm sending it back to the rest of the crew on M-Wire.
Thank you once again, JT, for that awesome Just the Facts and plot synopsis on Airborne. I love this movie. This movie is something that everyone should at least watch once. I'm not saying you have to watch it all the time. And before we did the recording today, this is the first time I actually had it. I had the DVD in my closet. This is the first time I brought it out of the closet. Oh God, it's a horrible joke. This is the first time I've taken it out and played it since probably I bought it. I remember I watched it when I first bought it a couple of years ago, but I haven't watched it since. And like I said, it was on Netflix. Sadly, it's not now, and I watched it when it was on Netflix. For anything else in this film, the one reason why you need to watch this at least once in your lifetime, I'm Too Sexy. The Seth Green clothes changing scene, because it's just so hilarious. This movie. It's so awesome. But yeah, no, this is, I think another reason why I love this movie is because I can relate to it. Because in '93, I actually moved for the first time ever from Massachusetts down here to where I am now in Kentucky. And just like Mitchell in the movie, going from California to Cincinnati, that was going from Massachusetts to Kentucky, going from having, forests and trees and all this stuff around you to nothing but flat lands and tobacco farms. That was a complete culture shock for me, so I can completely sympathize with Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, watching it, personally, I've always lived around the same area my entire life growing up, but watching it now, I do appreciate it on a nostalgia aspect. I mean, it is like going back and watching episodes of, like, Saved by the Bell and stuff like that. The acting's not the greatest, the writing isn't very well done, it's pretty cliche, you kind of know what's going to happen, but the two people that do stand out when watching this are Jack Black and Seth Green. You can kind of tell that they have personalities and they add so much more to their roles than most of the other characters who are pretty, bare bones at the most. But I think Jack Black had a lot of personality in this, and so did Seth Green, and you can kind of tell like how you can see why they have a career. Watching it now, growing up, it's kind of, you understand what it is. It's basically an after-school special minus the message, and trying to grasp onto the 1990s wave of extreme sports. Like, the X Games were huge during this time, so it's one of those films. You see stuff like this in the 80s too. You had like things. It's like Ski School matched with Saved by the Bell, matched with an after-school special, matched with the Mighty Ducks. It's like all these little things put together. And like you mentioned, it is kind of cool going back and seeing a lot of these actors that we know now back then. Also seeing people like Eddie, and Irene, Edie McClure and Patrick O'Brien, who those two I thought were fantastic. I thought they were hilarious. I love their chemistry back and forth. They had some of the best moments in the movie. But yeah, that's how I appreciate it, more of a nostalgic level than a piece of fine art. But it's enjoyable for what it is. I would definitely say that.
Yeah. Getting into the cast, Shane McDermott hasn't done a lot of stuff. He started out in, according to Wikipedia, again, it's Wikipedia, take it with a grain of salt. He started out in 1990, according to this, in The Babysitter's Club as Jamie Anderson. After that, he went to Swan's Crossing as Garrett Booth for 65 episodes in 92, Airborne in 93. In 95, he was on Law & Order as Kyle Winters for one episode. He was Scott Parker Chandler number 2 for 100 episodes on All My Children. Apparently in 2003, he moved to Galveston Island to paint. And yeah, he's right now, instead of having a career in Hollywood, he's selling beachfront and waterfront real estate on Galveston's West End.
Yeah, acting thing didn't work out for him. Doesn't work out for everybody. What's interesting too, like, he was actually in the Olympics, the Junior Olympics as well. Like, he was an actor, so he had a pretty good career besides that. I think a big reason he was probably chosen for this was because he was a really good skater. And the skating stunts in this are really good. They're so good. The last 30-minute, or maybe that's not long, the last like 20-minute skating race down that hill was really done really well. It was edited really well. The stunts with the cars going in and as it's going down, and you see all these cars in interplay, and as they're kind of trying to weave their way through all this traffic, it was handled. That was pretty fantastic. Like, I was really surprised by that. That holds up really well, and you see them crashing, and it looks like those stuntmen that were doing that were really going all out. And I think that they probably got Shane McDermott because he could act well enough, but he could also skate really well. So
yeah. The other thing that was really interesting about this movie is that you've got Chris Edwards and Team Rollerblade. So a lot of the guys that are doing, like, not the main cast, but a lot of the other ones you see, like the roller hockey extras and the ice skating extras and stuff like that, and the rollerblade extras, that's Team Rollerblade, and they were really big in the early 90s. They were huge in rollerblading. Who doesn't know Seth Green? I mean, do we even really have to talk about him? I mean, not meaning in a bad way, but like, I mean, the dude has been everywhere, from Robot Chicken to Family Guy to, he was in Enemy of the State. He was in, obviously, Austin Powers as Scott Evil. I mean, he was in Can't Hardly Wait. He's been everywhere. He was in one of my favorite 2003 movies, the Italian Job remake, as the Napster. He was the villain, sadly, in Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. Currently, he's got, coming up for this year, he's got Poetry Contest Poems in History. He's playing himself. Apparently that was a YouTube video. I can't believe Wikipedia is now promoting YouTube videos. And he's got, coming up later this year, apparently, Sexy Evil Genius. He plays Zachary Newman in that, coming up. Same thing with his television credits. I mean, he's been everywhere. Mad TV, That 70s Show, Crank Yankers, Will and Grace, American Dad, Robot, all the Robot Chicken stuff. That's pretty much what he created. He was on WWE Raw at one point in 2009. He was in an episode of Franklin and Bash. He's in a couple episodes of, he's in one episode of How I Met Your Mother. I mean, the dude is just everywhere.
Yeah, he's kind of really blossomed into a really good content creator with Robot Chicken, and I think he has his hands in a lot of different places. I think he's become a really solid producer and writer, besides just being an actor, and it seems like that's probably where his career is going to go down even more. I think like Robot Chicken, and I think it's pretty hilarious, and what he comes up with that is pretty creative. And he's also one of the people that you have to look at as geek culture is kind of taken over. He's a big part of it with the show like Robot Chicken and other things he's worked on. I think he's a big reason why geek culture is as prominent as it is today. And who would have thought this dorky kid from Airborne would be such a huge star today?
Yeah. I mean, it's so amazing and so great. All right, so, even as a kid, I always had a crush on the Nikki character, played by Brittany Powell, and it was a couple of years ago that I rewatched the movie Fled, and I didn't even realize it was her as Stephen Baldwin's character's stripper girlfriend. Didn't even, she grew up, so far out of what she looks like in... I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, she blossomed very well. And the only reason why I went back and started looking for stuff from her was because a couple of years ago, Mike Dodd over at This Week in Geek actually interviewed her about her Safety Geeks thing that she had done in 2009. But one of the things I find hilarious is she did in a movie in 2009. I don't know if it's based off the song or not, but she played Stacy's mom in the film Stacy's Mom. But, I like her character in this. I thought it was very well done for what it was. I'm trying to think. Okay, I don't remember if Chris Conrad I don't remember if he's really done much. He hasn't. The last thing, he was a voice in Portal in 2008. Other things people might know him, he was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yeah.
Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom.
He played the Johnny Blaze in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He wasn't in it very long, but he...
Yeah. Where I really remember him from is the movie he did after Airborne. And he was in the next Karate Kid. He was one of the Michael Ironside bad kids. He was in Clear and Present Danger in '94. I mean, he's had a pretty decent career, but again, he hasn't done anything in the last 7 years. Edie McClurg. Who doesn't remember Edie McClurg? Anything this lady is in, she's just awesome. She just is. from Ferris Bueller's Day Off to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Clifford the Big Red Dog. I mean, she's just in every, like, and it's just a little, like, it could be the littlest part, and she just owns it.
Yeah, she's really good as like the prototypical like Midwestern like mom or Miss Western character who's like just golly gee and like so full of life and so just like clean cut. But she's great at it and she's hilarious. I find her so like funny because I think she's in on the joke and she's able to really play that part well. And I think and this is a perfect example. She's just like you mentioned, she has small roles, but she makes the most out of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone remembers he was a righteous dude. Everybody remembers her from Ferris Bueller. Everybody. Anyone that doesn't remember her from Ferris Bueller, that they've never seen that movie.
Yeah.
All right, Jack Black, lead singer of Tenacious D. Get that out of the way. The dude has been in plenty of films. The first... Airborne is technically his first big role. Well, not big, but like the first thing that most people will remember him from. Hold on. God damn it. Fucking siren, I swear to God. Jesus Christ. Alright, what is this? This is 1305 edit point. Nice. Ugh, stupid thing. I swear to God. I hate this fucking city. I hate it. You're interrupting my movie review, you bastards.
Wow.
How long does this fucking thing gotta go on? Jesus Christ, it's like the fucking tornado siren. Holy crap. Okay, so Jack Black, he did have one movie before Airborne called Bob Roberts, but Airborne is really where most people might have seen him. The next thing you might have seen him in would be Demolition Man. After that, he was in Biodome, The Cable Guy, The Fan, Mars Attacks, The Jack. Oh, that's right, he was in The Jackal. I remember that. Oh, that poor death. Enemy of the State. Hey, that's right. I remember him in that. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Cradle of Rock. He was in High Fidelity.
That's probably the role that kind of really broke him was High Fidelity. It's kind of what.
Yeah. He's in Saving Silverman, Shallow Hal, Ice Age as Zeke, Orange County, School of Rock, Anchorman, Legend of Ron Burgundy, Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, Nacho Libre, Kung Fu Panda, Tropic Thunder. I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Not only in film but television as well.
Last year he was in Bernie, which I thought was actually he was really good in. He was nominated for a Golden Globe, and it was probably one of his best roles to date. Was that last year, Bernie? He was in The Big Year last year, or that was actually 2 years ago, that had him and Owen Wilson and Steve Martin, which I thought was a pretty decent underappreciated film about bird watching. Yeah, he's had a pretty impressive career, and like I think he's going to just continue. I know there's a lot of Jack Black detractors. He kind of can be very abrasive, and people can kind of, not like him for that, but I personally like him. I like him in small doses in certain roles, but I find him very funny. I find that he's genuine for the most part. So,
yeah, I mean, like I said, after Airborne, what I really remember, because it was one of those double takes between The Jackal and Enemy of the State. I'm like, oh hey, there's Jack Black. And then, of course, who doesn't remember him from 2 years ago? When Miss Piggy kidnapped him, because he was the star in the Muppets.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. But Jack Black. The rest of the cast, I honestly don't remember any of. Like, I remember them in the course of this film, I don't remember them outside of this, as far as after those ones that we've talked about. And when I actually clicked on Patrick O'Brien's name, it linked me to a bunch of different ones. And it didn't say, it doesn't link to a direct Wikipedia article of the actor. It's like footballer, musician, Australian politician, political scientist. So I don't know. Maybe there isn't a wiki article for him. But yeah, just a really, really cool cast. When you rewatched it, what was your reaction to it when you were watching it?
Well, there are a lot of unintentionally funny moments. But I guess the way you kind of had to approach it was looking at what it was trying to do, who it was marketed towards, and if it accomplished that. I think, like we mentioned, the first thing that kind of caught my eye is seeing some of the people like Seth Green and Jack Black again in those roles. But also just like a lot of the clothes, the 1990s fashion, and like realizing how many wrong choices we made in the 1990s, and just the lingo from the lingo that the main character had, Mitchell Goosen, and like how every other word had to be like a reference to surfing or something like that. Yeah, and his parted hair and the earring. He was like essential 90s in so many ways, good and bad. But yeah, like I mentioned, it is what it is type of film. A lot of these are first time actors. The script isn't very strong. It's kind of cliche at times, but there's some decent jokes. I think the first thing that stuck in my mind was how Shane McDermott's character, like how they completely changed their mind on him. Like he's this guy they all hate immediately because he's from California, and he's just like, girls love him because he's got blonde hair and he's cute. And then they kind of go like all guys hate him, of course, and then they completely change their mind because he pants one of the rivals from prep. And then like now everyone loves him, which I thought was pretty funny that they completely changed their mind on this character because he stood up finally and panned some dude. But it is.
Well, you got to remember though, and I agree with you. It does seem weird, but you got to remember though, this movie, once he gets to Cincinnati, it's supposed to be taking place over 6 months.
Yeah, but
so you've got to remember that, say this takes place in, like right after, like say it takes place in January is where I would put it, since it's not necessarily Christmas time, but it's still obviously snowing in Cincinnati. And then as the days progress and the months progress, you see it getting, better weather. So, by the time he depants his Blaine, it's been a long time, so it's been 6 months, 5 months of hell for him after that one incident at the hockey game. So that's the way I looked at it. It wasn't like, oh, this happened within 3 weeks, because he says at the end, I've got 3 weeks left and blah, 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 blah. So it's like he's been there a while.
Yeah, my question's more so not because like he decided to do that, because he has that dream about surfing and he completely changes. He decides that he has to go for it finally. My thing was more so that like they hated him and they wanted like nothing more to like see him destroyed, and then all those people change their mind because he pants the dude. Which, I mean, they're teenagers. That's gonna happen. That's how teenagers are. They kind of but I thought that was kind of humorous because they all come into his.
But haven't you ever done something that just like haven't you done something like that where you let your team down or you let your friends down or something like that, and then you have to redeem yourself? And that was the way that he redeemed himself, was depantsing the main rival that everybody really hates.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just kind of funny because it's just like this little thing, and it was like the funniest thing that ever happened. The way they treated it, it's just. But still, it was just that's the thing that I just thought was kind of humorous. But that did lead into the finale, which was that really great skating scene that we mentioned, where they have to show down with. I think it's kind of hilarious that schools just. It's prep. That's the name of the school, but that thing of that the finale skating race was like I said, was really great. I think that's if you were just to it's up the best. But what were your initial impressions as we watched it?
I loved it. I've always loved this movie. When I rewatched it, it's so enjoyable because it's almost, I know it's probably not considered this, but I would consider it a coming of age film because you've got Mitchell who wants to, surf all the time and be laid back and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, he's put in a situation where it just doesn't, his brain just shuts down like, what am I supposed to do now? And then it's the story of him, finally getting around to doing what he likes and what he does best with the rollerblades and Wiley. It's definitely a coming of age story for Wiley because Wiley's character is that nerd, is that, kid that everybody picks on or used to pick on. He's just now getting he has his learner's permit. He's trying to go for his license. So, as far as the fashion, yeah, it kind of does date itself. I will say that at least Nikki had some just decent fashion sense with the costumes that she used. Her stuff wasn't so over the top, and it's not supposed to be because she's supposed to be, the hometown girl, the girl next door, whatever type. Whereas Alexa and whatever the other chick's name is, I don't remember what it was, the redhead, that's with Alexa. Like they're supposed to be, we're the hot girls and blah 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 blah. I love Jack Black and I love I love Augie's. I'm Augie and I like to play Nintendo.
The moment where they had their speech class and they had to explain.
Yeah, their speech class. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I love Jack Black in this had a lot of great reactions to things in the game when their hockey game.
Don't stand here, Moon Doggy.
Yeah.
Go get him.
Yeah, I don't know how true it is, but I feel like he probably ad-libbed a bunch of stuff just because a lot of the things he says in this kind of are similar to what he does now with his facial expressions and stuff like that. You can see a lot of it already in this film, so I think he kind of just went with it in a lot of different moments, which I think lets him stand out compared to some of the other characters. But
and it was just a really, really great movie. It's one of those movies. It's one of those kind of little known gems that really no one like I said before when I mentioned this on Twitter or Facebook or wherever it was that I mentioned it online, and you're like, oh, I remember that film. I was shocked because, outside of myself and a couple of my cousins, I didn't know anybody knew about this movie, because it's one of those ones that you just don't, especially in 93, look at what was coming out in 93, this isn't the top of the list. But I absolutely love this movie. So cool. All right. So 1 to 4, what do you rank it?
I would say it's definitely worth a watch if it's on TV. So I would definitely give it a solid, a heavy 2. I would say. I think you don't need to order it from Netflix, but if it's on television, it's worth a watch. Maybe 2.5. But yeah, I would go with definitely a solid 2 to 2.5.
I would say you need to at least watch it once, like I said before, but if I was going to personally rate it from my own rating, I have to give it a 4 because I love this film so much. It's just so cool. And it's not necessarily nostalgia that's making me rank it to 4. It's when I went back and I watched it before the recording, I was like, this is what a lot of people need to watch to remember not only the bad, but some of the good parts of the night. I know that's kind of a nostalgia comment that you need to remember the 90s, but it's a lot of stuff nowadays is just not, to me, it's not that cool anymore, and I would rather be stuck in the 90s for quote-unquote cool stuff. One of the lines from Jack Black that I absolutely love is when Mitchell calls the character Jack. He's like, don't worry about it, brah. That whole surf term, and he's like, Augie's like, there, he did it again.
Yeah, he's like, did he call me a piece of underwear?
Yeah, he calls you a piece of underwear. So awesome.
Yeah, it is an interesting time capsule because it is coming back and watching this. It does capture that time period pretty well. Just with the lingo, the way people talked, it is good in that aspect. So if you didn't grow up at that time, or you did and you want to revisit it, I mean, it is one of the better films that kind of do capture that period, especially what it was like being a teenager during the early 90s.
Yeah, and plus, it's got an amazing, amazing score. Some really great R&B tracks as well. Very, very awesome. Just looking it up here on Amazon, since I know it's on Netflix, it is available to rent on Amazon Instant Video for $2.99. So even if you want to rent this thing, you don't want to buy it online or whatever else, you can still get it to rent. And $3 for this 90s movies is great. If you want it on DVD, you can get it for $13.99. So very, very, very awesome. And honestly, I could not believe, like when I first watched it back, I could not believe that this is a Warner Brothers film. Did not really even, that never entered, like I just thought, oh, this is a cool film. I didn't need, like when I saw it back in the day, I was like, oh, okay, cool film. Didn't even realize it was a Warner Brothers movie. But very, very, very awesome. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back to close the show after this.
Hey, I'm Gary.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chuck.
And I'm Justin.
Join the four of us every week on the internet's #1 and longest-running G.I. Joe podcast, What's on Joe Mind?
It's Joe news, reviews, and interviews like you've never heard them before, delivered right to your MP3 player.
Our guests include Jason Marsden, Kevin Michael Richardson, and Matt Yang King from G.I. Joe Renegades, Larry Hama, Robert Atkins, and John Barber from IDW Publishing, and many more from around the online Joe community.
Yeah, it's guys talking about Joe. Think of it as Joe Talk meets sports talk. And we make fun of Chuck.
Right, and we... Hey, again?
Come on, Chuck. We're just kidding. Kinda.
Sometimes Chuck makes fun of himself.
Right, and we... Okay, seriously, this is just getting ridiculous now.
It's What's on Joe Mind, every week on the Geekcast Radio Network, InsidePulse.com, Stitcher Smart Radio, and iTunes. Download and listen today.
I suppose I still can't say something about Transformers, can I?
Come
Good.
on, man.
No.
What about sports?
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's all right.
Kid? Yes? Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFG1Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in-depth in Beyond the Night, only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
Welcome to my throne room, Future Tales. The Beast Unleashed podcast is over, not gone. You can hear more of this great podcast, discussing all the episodes of Beast Wars and Beast Machines on GeekCastRadio.com. We include voice actor and writer interviews with stellar hosting by Steve, Mike, and Michael. Head on over to iTunes or the net, or else I will send you my vehicles to extract your spark and destroy you. Yes.
For you listeners of Movie Week in Review, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Use audibletrial.com/geekcastradio. Okay, final thoughts on Airborne. Something I did not bring up at the time during the discussion is that, I kind of brought it up. I cannot believe the transformation Brittany Powell went through as she aged from being Nikki in Airborne to what she looks like today. She looks amazing. She filled out really nicely. There's going to be a comparison picture in the post between Nikki's character and her in 2010 at a Comic-Con. Yeah. I can definitely say now, doing the math, she was 21 when she was in Airborne. I was 13, I definitely liked older women. Final thoughts on the film?
Final thoughts. With Airborne, being as this was a film I watched a lot as a kid, I did appreciate it, probably mostly on a nostalgia aspect. If you've never watched this and you're grown up and you're watching it now, you're probably not going to like it as much. It's be like watching Saved by the Bell and never watching it before and wondering like why people enjoy this. But I think if you appreciate for what it's doing, it's not trying to be an amazing movie. It's trying to be a teenage film that has a lot of great skating in it, and it does that. There's some funny moments, and probably the best thing to see this film is how much of a time capsule it is, and seeing some of people like Jack Black and Seth Green early on in their career, and seeing how much they've transitioned to now. But besides that, I think it's it's a fun little watch. It's a little gem that hopefully we can shine a little more light on with this episode.
Yeah, hopefully people will go check this out. Like I said, you can get it on Amazon to rent for $2.99, or you can if you just want to buy the DVD, you can do that as well. It's a nice little film, and it's a better 90s film than something like Surf Ninjas.
So if this movie had ninjas, it might be a little bit better. I mean...
No. Shut up. Alright, so we hope you enjoyed this episode of MWire. I wish you'll join us next time when we will be continuing on in the 90s flashback. Pop quiz hotshot with Speed from 1994. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
MovieRevolt Dan.
Thank you for listening, and keep those film reels rolling.
What we just did, that was...
Really great! That was fantastic! Mitchell? Louis, come quick, it's Mitchell! Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. 911, don't let it be an overdose. Don't let it be an overdose. And Irene. Oh, God! Oh, honey. Don't you ever do that to your Uncle Louis again.
I was just resting.
Oh, we thought you were on drugs.
No, I'm just tired.
Are you coming down with something?
No, I just had a rough day.
Oh, I nearly forgot. We got a card from your folks. Your dad came down with poison oak, and you got a big package. I put it on your bed. What is it?
Something I should have never forgotten.
Nicky!
You've just listened to Movie Week in Review on GeekCastRadio.com. If you would like to leave feedback on the show, there are many ways to do so. First, you can visit the website, GeekCastRadio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. Be sure to rate our show on iTunes and leave us feedback. You can follow us on Twitter at GCRN MWire. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.
In a world, there, I said it, happy,